Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're going to talk a little bit about Nibiru, which is really trending on social media these days. A lot of people are reporting seeing the red sun and a lot of different things. So we're going to be talking about that, and I think it's pretty interesting that we do. And so therefore, let us have a discussion when we get down to it. And this is going to be a four-part series. We're going to do it today, tomorrow, after my Forbidden Knowledge stream, and then Wednesday and Thursday, because I think we're going to go over a lot of stuff when it comes down to this Nibiru. And today we'll talk about what is Nibiru, the orbit of Nibiru. We'll go over that a little bit, or just really we're just going to go into some conversation today to get things started, so that we can then understand what is really happening when people are talking about the red planet, the return of Nibiru, and everything else. And so the first thing is that I've studied Nibiru for years, and the deeper I go, the clearer it becomes, because it's like they have lied about our skies for quite some time. When you start thinking about it, they erased the 10th planet within all of our documentation and everything else. But you can go back to Zachariah Sitchin in a lot of those different places in his books, and he talks about that. And if you think it's just like what they call bad science, then you haven't seen who's behind the cover up. And we'll talk about that a little bit when it comes down to Nibiru. And once again, they didn't really just hide it. They built an entire system to keep us not looking at this thing. And while it's supposed to be returning as we speak, and I've always said your eyes are useless when your mind is blind, and that's exactly what happens when we're talking about these things and everything else. So regardless of that, I hope you had a great weekend. And today, like I said, we're gonna dive deep into it, and this will be a 4-part series of everything else. But when you want to start thinking about some of the things I just mentioned about who's hiding it, what control factor or what's going on, the first thing you want to know, who's controlling this? Who is the one that's possibly not giving us enough information that we can then determine for ourselves what is to be true and what's not to be true? And once again, I have several of those people that I'll kind of mention allegedly that they say that it's controlling. Number one, we're talking about NASA, the Vatican observatory that they have, elite astronomers with global agencies, and to them all of this matter. And the questions I've always told you, we don't want to worry about how they're doing this. I don't want never anyone focusing on how they're doing this. We always got to know about why. Why is way more important than the how. And I'm going to discuss a couple of whys right now, and then we can kind of go through it a little bit, or we can dig deep. But these groups that I'm going to say here controls the narrative of space, the telescopes, and the timing. And I'll give you a couple of indicators where I can say, here's the proof how we can say this, because NASA silent 1983 iris detection. Remember, IRS is IRAS detection, and it disappeared from public discourse. They had some information about that. Remember, the Vatican have a satellite or telescope called Lucifer. Yeah, right. And it's tracking deep space anomalies, and they doing this off record. Go look it up, Google it. Well, you might can't Google it, but you can find it. They do have a satellite system. In 1982, NASA's announcement of a possible unknown heavenly body was redacted. This was way back in 1982, which probably I was just, 6 times 2, if at that time, okay, you can go figure it out for yourself. And some of you probably wasn't even born when that happened. So you never know when it gets down to it, and pretty much. But either way, yeah, I was 6 times 2 in 1982. So do the math, you can figure it out from there. But not only of who is doing it, we should always ask ourselves why. And like I said, and how, is what I'm going to talk about. But the most important thing is always why. And then we'll get into what I think they're hiding, why they're trying to make sure that we just don't connect with the idea that Nibiru even exists. And you're going to have the folklore. We're going to have the folklore where people are like, well, it's the Anunnaki returning and the great. Now, you know my stand on the Anunnaki. You know, out of all the videos that I do and things I talk about, who I think who they are with their scaly skins and all of this stuff. And most people think they're, just the power of the people, I'm not down with that one yet, because there's too much evidence is leading to the latter of them being what we would assume to think, or it's the red planet or the black planet or these people returning that look like us when we really look like them, right? Remember, I've said that on many occasions. But if we get down to the point of how they do the control, that's going to take us down a whole nother level and everything else. And we're just going to touch on that a little bit right now to kind of wet your beak a little bit, get you a little information going. And once again, you can go and check, and my disclaimers, anything I mispronounce, whatever, I got my grammar box over here and the spelling box over there, unlimited letters over here, unlimited grammar pronunciations over there. And letters, take it, correct it, and everything else. But here's some of the tools that they do and use to make sure that you and me and other people don't understand what's happening with this Nibiru concept. Okay, astrophysics gatekeeping. Yes, they are making sure, without a shadow of a doubt, that the powers that be that controls the flow of information have an agenda that they may not want us to know certain things, and they can do this by making sure the right people are in place. Now, if we already talked about the system that they use to the obedience codes and all that stuff that they use, then you can already know media. Okay, media is part of the concepts, the blackout or keeping information suppressed and all of this. You should know that already. You've been around here long enough. You've been around other places. You already know that you cannot, by all means necessary, believe 100% of the things that you hear and see on television, right? We know this, right? We should. I ain't even talking about fake news. I'm not even talking about any of that stuff. I'm just saying they're not playing around when they want to make sure there's things that we inherently do not know, okay? And that is just something that I will tell you. Mislabeling of ancient records as mythology. This is probably by far one of the most essential ways that they control these narratives, because all they got to do is change the past, information-wise, of course. And then when you go back and we go back and we start looking up and trying to see what's going on with Nibiru or whatever the things are, and you go back and you read some doctrine that's been edited, by the way, and all of a sudden it says this and says that and it's this and it doesn't mean that, and all of a sudden we then take that assumption, all right? And assumption is the mother of all F-ups, okay? We should know this. Assume nothing these days. I don't care who it is, with what. Assume nothing when it comes down to stuff that is the information that we get through the flow of being truth seekers is what I'm saying when it comes down to this stuff, because that's just one of the methods. But the main method is mislabeling of ancient records as mythology. Now, I'm going to give you an example, because I'm not just going to leave you hanging. I'm going to give you an example that you could just make you go, right? Let's take with the Sumerian tablets describe Nibiru's orbit as cylindrical in return, or, well, I don't know. They try to say it, right? At this point, you got Marduk and planet of the crossing reclassified as allegory, despite the math. Well, he just lost his little gnat life there. Sorry. But if he touched the king, he cannot do this. He just cannot. Anyway, maybe he screamed enough to tell some of his boys or something. But either way, I'm just saying that, they're talking about despite the math that's proven planetary behavior, they're just saying that, we shouldn't believe this. But the examples are there and how the things that they're doing. And so, again, it's up to you, me, and everyone else to verify that information when you go down to it. And it does have an effect. It has effect on us. It has an effect on society. It has effect on everyone. In fact, if I had to say, it's like we've been programmed to see space as an empty, random. And so when Nibiru returns, we're not spiritually and strategically prepared. And let me say that again. the ultimate effect on this is that you, me, everyone else that has been tied into this flow of information that they provide, the media, the astrophysics, mislabeling, and everything that I've said before, have us to try to see space as some kind of empty and random thing. Oh, we know there's planets and stars out there, and that's just as far as we're going to go with this. That's about as far as we're going to think about when you're talking about Nibiru and everything else. And so when Nibiru does return, and you hear me say it, when it does, if it is not here already, or because there's a lot of people that are on social media saying that they're seeing it, and you got to remember something. Here's something I want to point out to you, which it could be a possibility. The possibility that a lot of people is not seeing what other people are seeing, however, they're recording it. So therefore it's possible, right? You know what I'm saying? Is because of being spiritually and strategically unprepared, you know, mentally and all of these things. But the camera is catching it. And I got a couple of clips, and I got a friend of mine. She had something to say about Nibiru. I took one of her little TikTok pokes, not little, but fantastic TikTok post, and I'm going to play it here in a bit. And if there's anybody know what's going on, she does. All right. And she's been here on the show before and be back as well. I have a lot of respect and love for what she does and everything else. And so I'll play one of her clips. And I called her up. I said, hey, listen, I'm going to play one of your clips, so I got permission. She's like, man, go ahead. Do what you got to do. All right. So now, as we talk about this, we have to then decide the fact that I just talked about who is in control. I just talked about a little bit of how they are controlling it. And I think it is most importantly for us to determine why. Okay. All right. And what are they hiding? And from what they're hiding, then you could determine the why, because that's how we're going to look at these things when we decide and go down this rabbit hole of what we're doing. In the meantime, a lot of you are over in the chat. I'll give it a shout out in a little bit as we go down the rabbit hole a little bit tonight and pretty much. But anyway, again, let's think about it. What are they hiding? So let's start with hidden knowledge. We already should know what they think we don't know, or what they don't want us to know. The Nibiru isn't just a rock. It's a cosmic reset switch. Now, like I said, I'm going to play a clip here in a little bit, and she's going to explain a lot of things to you when it comes down to this. But once again, Nibiru, it's not just a rock. It's a reset switch. And again, if you go back to Zachariah Ascension stuff, he talks about every 3,600 years. All right. And to us, you know, that's a lot of time, but to them, that's really not. And the lifespans and all that is a little different. But he talks about the 12th planet or the 9th planet or whatever. But anyway, you get the point. But it's there. Another part is that it brings Nibiru, when it starts to become electromagnetic disruption. You're talking about pole shifts in ancestral judgment. See, a lot of people has been feeling a certain way. There's a lot of people got this weird feeling of what's really happening and what's going on, and it's unexplainable. However, it is explainable, but it's unexplainable, if you get what I'm saying. And they're still wondering what, when, and how, why am I feeling this way? And I'm not telling you you start looking at how you're feeling, because it's going to be whatever's different for you, but look into it is all I'm saying of what is happening when it comes down to this. And the ancients, listen to this, they called it destroyer for a reason. Nibiru, the destroyer, for a reason. Now, when I say this, I'm not saying that Nibiru is, you know, coming down the street and it'll be here at 12 o'clock tomorrow, or, you know, September the 20th. You know, we see movies like that, right? The asteroids getting brighter and brighter and all these things. But however it is, when we start thinking cosmically, like I said, we're looking at our linear time of 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, and then 75 years, and all of this stuff is a long time for us, but it's just a scritch in the bucket for these people and things that's been around here a long time. And so therefore the return is inevitable. And so therefore the preparation is different. Now, there's been rumors out there that there's been some type of satellite seeing some kind of brigade. There's a lot of stuff out there. I haven't confirmed any of that, but I just read it, and you see some of the paperwork or newspaper posting, you know, because, you know, that sky is a big, big, big big sky. So when you think we can go scan everything, we do not have the possibility to look at everything in space. We just don't have the budget, the tools, and everything else. It is a big space, huge, matter of fact. However, if we get some indicators from some of these other connections, maybe possibly to some of these beings and whoever, they telling us where to look. It's coming from that way. So we can send the James Webb that way. And all of a sudden we can catch things that's coming and everything else. Now, there was a movie, I'm a movie buff that talked about this return. Remember the Japanese, I forget the name of it, but they sent the signal out, and then somebody intercepted on that planet, sent a message back and said, hey, don't send another signal to people who that's around here. When they hear it, they're going to come. And the lady sent it again, and then they start coming. But the challenge was that it was going to take them ages to come. I forget the name of the movie. Some of y'all might remember it. You can put it in the chat. But she was saying that, in the movie, they start showing timelines and different disruptions in the sky and stuff like that. But however, the problem was that the aliens or whoever needed to intervene in Earth early on, like change some parameters right now, because I think it was going to take them 300-400 years to come. And the fact that the human civilization was advancing so fast, so rapidly, because you got to think about it, in less than 100 years, we got spacecraft, weapons, and flights, and stealth bombers, and we have a lot of stuff within the last 50 or 60 years. That is a very huge acceleration of knowledge and intellect and technology for a species. And so therefore, they feared in that movie that by time they got here in 300 or 400 years, we would not only been able to been more superior possibly, but also have the ability to protect ourselves. So maybe within that same theory, the powers that be and people behind the scenes saying, hey, we know it's coming. We know the truth. We got the records. We can go back to ancestral stuff, but we should be prepared, or what we see every day right now. Let's get off the planet. Let's become a planetary species. Let's get to Mars. Let's get away from here because it's coming. I don't know. Maybe that's a speculation. Maybe that's something that happens. But at the end of the day, that's the things that I'm talking about. And so I think it's one of those things that we want to look at. However, where I'm going to go with this is why it's dangerous for them. Okay. Because once you know it's real, we're talking about Nibiru, and you start to question everything else that's been buried, flood legends, prophetic astronomy, elite continuity, and government planning, that changes everything, because we, the people, the truth seekers, begin to say, we're going to question it. And you remember, we got to question everything. Your eyes are useless when your mind is blind. You got to question. In fact, you got to be luminous about this. All right. You got to be luminous. You see it. And first of all, let me thank all of you. And we got a few left that have gotten their luminous. I shipped them all out last week. You all should have been getting them today in the mail, and can't wait for you to send pictures and everything else. We got a few left. We got 14. I think we had 26 to start. 14 was gone. We got a few left. And hopefully a few of you tonight maybe get one. We'll talk about it later on in the show a little bit. But anyway, where I'm going with this is it's dangerous to them. It's really dangerous. And what it means, if people discover this, they're going to realize the return of Nibiru isn't a fantasy. It's a pattern. And we're just in the time, we're here for that time. Because you got to think about something, and just me talking and everything else. But when you start thinking about 2012 and all of those different things that they're saying, and we start looking at the Mayans, and hell, we're talking whole civilizations just gone, disappeared. Where did they go? What happened to them? I don't know. And I'm not saying, once again, and this is not a fear mongering. This is not me saying that it's happening, and maybe not even in our lifetime. Okay. Not in our lifetime. And I'm saying for everyone who is listening to my voice, not in our lifetime, but that don't mean that some of the stuff that's coming with it is not starting to happen. The power of it, the alignment, or as some people say, it's already here. We just can't see it yet for some odd reason. And that could be the ascension or the awakeness of spirituality and all those things. And so it just all depends on what it is. Again, we're just throwing out here tonight. We're just throwing it as truth seekers, to find it and see exactly what's happening when it gets down to this and everything else. But I will say it is worth noting that we should go down the rabbit hole like we should. The other part of this is that every time it comes back, civilization resets. And I just was mentioning that a little bit about the Mayans, and all of this stuff. What happened to these civilizations? Everything else, the reset, right? And we've heard the reset at the time when we heard the story of the Great Deluge and all of this stuff. And supposedly, Noah built an ark, and two of everything survived, and mosquitoes and roaches, and we could have left those two behind. Now somebody did post a comment to say, hey, what if Noah had a vessel and the vessel had DNA in it, and so he was able to store DNA of every living species? And I was like, you know what? Okay, we talking about the biblical myth versus the possibility of truth. It's possible the vessel he had could have done that. Also, think about it. At this time, the world is putting a huge movement on pre-built bunkers. I've said it before. I've talked about it endlessly. I did videos in the past of all of these people building bunkers today. Cuban, or whatever his name, Zuckerberg, some huge ones, and all of these different people, and Rick Ross, all of them talking about their bunkers and bunkers and bunkers. We got all these underground cities. We got all of these underground developments and everything. It's like it's a movement. And I've said it too. I'm built in 5 or 6 years. I'll have a bunker built. Some of you can come and live. We just need to make sure we know everybody's role and who's doing it, who's going to repopulate the world if we needed to. So we need the people that's able and, and still are able to reproduce. You know what I'm saying? And I think I'll make a wonderful specimen to be part of that project reproduction. We're going to call it whatever, or replenish. We're going to give it a name, Project R, not Roderick, but replenish. I don't know. Anyway, it's humor, but regardless to the point, I'm saying we've seen it. We've heard stories in all of this, and the bunker stuff is out there. And so that is something that I think we should look at. We got Damon in the house. He ain't been here in a while. So what's going on? Look, Maya talk about wow. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. Some of y'all are married. Y'all have to, reproduce within your families and all that. But I'm saying for us, people that are single, we could, and one species of man could have 100, and whatever. I'm speaking in code because we might got children watching tonight, but y'all get what I'm saying though. So imagine having one, because you ladies one baby at a time, but we can make 100 at one time. I mean, whatever. Wouldn't that be wonderful though? Wouldn't that be a problem that you are responsible for replenishing the earth? And they look at you and say, you are the one. You are the one, Roderick. You have to replenish the earth. That is what I lead and put on you. It's going to be stressful. Yeah, it is. 100 of them? Stressful as hell? All right, so talk about emotional. Let's go to some more emotional points. I'm sorry, y'all like to play. But the whole point is that now here's where it gets a little tricky when it gets down to this, okay? The orbits matched. The tablets warned us, but the institution stayed silent. And so let me tell you a secret most people don't know, and I want to share this with you. Astronomers have been threatened for publishing Nibiru's trajectory. This has been happening for quite some time. Go start looking it up. Go look up some of the things, and pretty much, Damon said, I'm done making babies with my husband upside down, sideways, but I ain't working. I heard you. I heard you. So that's the part. Astronomers have been threatened for publishing Nibiru's trajectory, man, for quite some time. They really have. It's been really a problem for them. And it's something I think that, again, we can look into it, because if they hide the 10th planet, what else is coming that they still not telling us? Remember, people are revealing there's a planet after Pluto right now. That's number 10. Zachariah Sitchin said that Nibiru is the 12th planet, right? So therefore, there's number 11 that we haven't discovered, but they've been talking about 10 was found so long time ago, but they starting to cut it out the books or out the information path. They don't want us to know to understand that it exists or anything else. And so what happens when it becomes visible again. They're talking about Nibiru. And having said that, I have a little clip that I found on social media that a guy, it's about 50 seconds here, so I'm just going to see if I can play it here. But he spotted, and then later on, I'm going to play a friend of mine, what she really says, and she's deep when it comes down to this about Nibiru's return and everything else. But here's a clip of someone who claims that what he's looking at is the red sun. Let's check it out.
Is that the planet? Where the sun at? Hold on. Now, that's the planet now. I see it with my own eyes now. I ain't believe that shit when I seen it earlier. Nigga was talking about the planet and shit. I need to find out where the sun at. It ain't the moon. What time is it? 7:45? I think the sun already went down. Oh, it'll be lower than that. Hold him up, Jim Shoe. Hold him up, Jim Shoe. What? Hold up. It could be.
Now, there's a lot of clips like this surfacing everywhere. There's some that has one person literally had the moon, and then he showed the sun. Then he showed that in his clip, and he was like, look, all three of them is there. I see Dr. Strange says there's something about the Canadian fires or something that's kind of glooming. There is a lot, but, I've been receiving texts from people within our community. Check this out, different clips about the return and everything else. So these things are just happening. But I'm just saying that, again, speculation is speculation, and it's our job to look into all of it, right? And I'm not claiming it to be true or whatever, but people are reporting it, and obviously there's a lot of people who knows that Nibiru exists and that it's a possibility that it's going to happen at this point. And so, therefore, we will look into it. All right, so we'll move into the second, and this is part of my 3 segments or whatever. We'll move into the second part of it. But that was me just trying to paint the picture and get things going, because now what we're going to do, we're going to go into why the ancient tablets predicted a planet that they say doesn't exist. So there are, we're just going to have a conversation about that and pretty much. And so I think it's something that we can do as we go forward. But either way, like I said, just remember we have our, if you want, right now we have a few left. This is our pendant. And like I said, you can go to Cash App right now. And there it is on the screen. Moderators can put it into the chat. Why the big secret is the $, $45. That's going to include the shipping. Make sure in the notes that you place your telephone number, your name, just like everyone else. They'll tell you, I'll call you personally, talk to you, whatever. You're going to have my personal number. So if you got things you want to report or whatever, you can do that. But either way, and I will ship this out immediately tomorrow or call you, if you're up tonight, I'll text you first. But either which way, I was hoping that 2 or 3, 4 more of you tonight will, support us in this way and doing something. We want something that you can have and hold in your hand and everything else, and pretty much. So either which way, we can do whatever from there. All right. So no, it's not pure silver. It's going to last forever. The chain is a little starter chain. Now, I do plan on, we had these bazaars here in Dallas. So I do plan on going to the bazaar and get me a little, sterling silver chain for mine. I was going to go Sunday and instead I went to a place called Traders Village to kind of look and see why it was empty. It was really empty. Of course, I know why it was empty. All right, so let's continue on. And again, like I said, if you do tonight, I'll give you a shout out tonight as well. But yeah, I mean, this thing is really cool. It's, it's pretty big, and it's, I'm wearing it. It's nice. I actually get compliments. People are like, man, that's a nice little, and I try to give them the background of what's going on. So let's say we get into the segment 2 of this. If you thought Nibiru was just a myth, then I got a question for you, and I want you to explain this. How did the ancient Sumerian chart a planet that we discovered in the 1980s? But they had already knew about it. The ancient Sumerians had it already in the Sumerian texts and tablets and all that stuff about Nibiru a long time ago. They had already had it in there. So that's something for you to think about. And why does every tablet point to the same return cycle, right when today's astronomers said that the gravitational anomaly is pulling out of our solar system. So, they try to cover it up, but pretty soon anyone's going to be able to see it. A lot of people's going to be able to look into the skies and see what's going on all the time. So I don't think it's something that, it's not going to go on from that point when it gets down to that. And we can do that. And I don't know. Yeah. And he says change in all. Yeah. In other words, yeah, it'll come with this chain and everything. Yeah. Chain and a pin, if that's what you were asking, Dana Clark or whatever. All right. So let's go with this. Brandy said, do you like art? Would love to do a piece for you. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I do. I love art. So that'll be good. Either which way, let's continue down the road. But why does the tablet course, like I say, point to the return? And once again, this isn't a mythology, it's suppressed science. And now people are trying to say ultimately that the countdown is beginning. It's already happening. Like I said, I'm not saying that this is going on today, tomorrow, next month, or 5 years, 10 years. But, people are saying that they're seeing certain things and it's happening. But the mainstream narrative tell us that ancient stories are symbolic. That's how they said the gods, the comets, and the cataclysms and everything else, they're just cultural myths. So they try to say that these things don't really exist. But like I said, if you try to go back and look for proof yourself, then we already know whole civilizations just left. Stuff, pyramids been around a long time. What happened to all of these ancient stuff that was here prior to us and just disappeared? And there's billions of people on the planet who can care less to know if you just go right across on the other side of the world, there's things that's sitting there. We don't know who built them, or we assume. We don't know how. Number one, we assume. We don't know when. Most of the time we try to predate it. And they're built by things and stuff that we can't even do today, even with modern technology, modern machinery. Some of those rocks and stuff we can't build and put in place the way they built some of these pyramids, cut them in the precision that they're cut. We don't have a technology for that and placement and everything else. But obviously someone did, and someone made it happen. The acoustics on some of those things are so divine that we don't know how. We don't know how they built a coliseum that they didn't need speakers and mics and stuff to shout out to the whole audience of 80,000 growing people, and they can just stand there and say, I give you whatever. You get what I'm saying? It's things that we didn't know. We don't know. They didn't need cell phones and all of this stuff to call and communicate across the country. They can just close their eyes and blink and send you a message. And then you get it and say, okay, I'll go tell something. These are things that we literally probably have gotten less smart than we think we're getting smarter because we think it's technology. But maybe technology is dumbing us down in such a way that we think it's more intelligent, but it's not. But obviously there is something that we can do or look at as we go down this idea of things. However, let's put it this way. The tablet specifically, is an Emu Elish, don't describe myth. They describe orbits, alignments, and returns. They describe Nibiru with precision of an astronomer. These things have put it out there. And of course, if this myth isn't just a myth, then there's no threat. If it's a myth, there ain't nobody really worrying about it. But if it's not, then we can't ignore a cosmic threat embedded in global prophecy. You get what I'm saying? And it's just, and I'm going to keep reiterating this tonight. We current people now, of course, I believe in that we're going to come back, that it's just a cycle of things. And so maybe the me now need to worry about the me later and saying, okay, let's prepare. So that's why I'm going to build a bunker. I'm going to make sure I write into a will or something and say it's to this person, somehow give my future self a code word so he know when it comes back, he claims the magic word or open up the time capsule and he knows what's in it. And now he owns all the stuff that I built today and left. I don't know. Or maybe put a message down to the generation of the children and say, with blah, 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 somewhere born in his lineage, there will be somebody that's going to approach from out of nowhere and say his name is, Roderick, the whatever. I don't know. However, but it's worth trying, right? It's worth trying to achieve this. But at some point, it is something for us to think about, I would say, when we get down to this. But once again, and if we keep ignoring this, we talk blindly into what I call impact. It's something that we should ignore. At least we should look into Nibiru's, the red planet, the planet X, all these different names of what's going on. What do y'all think about that? Put in the chat. I'll put some on the screen. What if you let's do a little quick survey, okay? And there's about over 100 plus people in here. Make sure you hit the like button and everything right now. But listen, do you believe, this is where we're going to start first with this, that there is a Nibiru? Yes for one, two for no. We're just going to go yes or no. Let's see how many were. Let's see. Let's do a little quick poll right now. Put it in the chat. One, yes, that you believe that Nibiru exists. Two is no. And you can go. Let's go with a three. Three is I'm in the middle. Okay. So we got yes, no, 1, 2, and 3. 1 is yes, 2 is no, and 3, I'm in the middle. All right. So, all right. We got some. CJ says number 1. Dr. Strange says 1. Brandy says 1. Amonta says 1. Artificial intelligence 1. Aqua Girl says 111. All right, and Sandra says 1. Mia 1. Charles says 1. All right. So far, all right. Damon, stepdaddy, RN. So we have a bunch of 1s right now. So, and that's good because that means that we are connecting. We're truth seekers at some point. And again, you can speak no too, because why not be a skeptic? That's not a problem. I'm not saying that you make you a lesser person, that you just saying that that's just hogwash. It ain't there's no other planets out there. And 3, you just don't know. That's cool. That's something worth thinking about in pretty much from there. But Nibiru is full of brothers. That now, see, Damon, this is where my defection of the idea jumps the boat, because that is what we've been told, that it's the black planet, right? That there's the bunch of brothers return, and the Anunnaki was brothers and all that. Okay, and I'm not saying that, but when I started going down the agenda of what we talk about, those scaly, lizard people, it all points back to the Anunnaki and the scaly skins and the brain, all of the stuff that we have. And so I'm not sure if they were, black, at this point, right? Now, I'm not saying that we didn't exist, because I'm thinking that, remember, if you thought about it, that we were already here. And Leo Inky said we were already here when he said what you seek was already here, meaning there was some type of Neanderthal man or something creation of man before they intervened and turned it into a slave race. And then, of course, meaning the brothers could have been here before that too, right? So those are the ideas and things that we can do that. But I will look at it from there when it comes down to that. All right. So anyway, let's keep going. So the other part about that is, the truth is this: Nibiru is part of a larger system, a roll, highly elliptical orbit with a 3,600 return, is what they said, every 3,600 years. But here's where it gets interesting. Every culture, the Mayans, the Babylonians, Egyptians, has floods myth of sky gods connected to destructive return from above. So the Great Deluge, the Noah built the ark, everybody talks about it. So obviously what happens, the cataclysm that comes when Nibiru comes in orbit, we're talking about flooding. And flooding is probably, water is probably the most dangerous of all substance around, right? And it's the most powerful. But you won't believe what happens after that when you start talking about it. And I may pronounce this a little wrong, so get to your grammar box. But we're talking about Gilgamesh, right? That'll be it. The tablets mention a celestial body whose passing causing floods, quakes, identical to modern pole shift theory. So we have the pole shift theory that they talk about when it comes down to the black planet, planet X, the return of Nibiru, the all of these different things. But then you go back to ancient myth. We're talking about great floods, deluge, all of these things. So the idea of whatever the same thing has changed, but the concept hasn't. The water has done it. The water has destroyed many civilizations, and it comes and goes. You're talking about Atlantis. You're talking about all of these different things. The water. I got a huge global map right here with all the great vast of land, but yet the whole big This thing is about 4 or 4 feet across. I'm putting it into the office or a backdrop here, but this thing is mostly water sitting here when you're looking at it, and from there. And so let's just kind of go from there. But once again, now imagine this though. The U.S. Naval Observatory reported tracking Nibiru in the early 2000s, but the issue was a silence directive. Start Googling this. As truth seekers, I want you to begin to Google that they have had tracks about Nibiru. They have found it. They have had things about this in the past that came up, but the modern elites, they're not laughing about it. They're building bunkers. I'm going to say it again. They are built. Please, everyone, start looking up all these bunkers being built everywhere. Just start Googling bunkers, Googling social media bunkers, all of this stuff, something about the bunkers. I'm telling you, I'm building one. I don't care. All right. So what I'm saying is, what about the bunkers? Now, I'd rather have it not need it, not have it. So it's not a panic move here. Okay. But I will tell you this though. I'm gonna be very popular if I have a bunker and people run, Roderick, let me in your bunker. And you just get to look, can you cook? You know what I'm saying? We ain't worried about you hunting, because we everything is in here. I got supply of food forever. What is it? I mean, we're not going to argue. You get what I'm saying? So the bunker, anyway, that's just my running playbook, man. Hey, baby, he got a nice car. I got a bunker. I got a bunker. Well, I don't care about no bunker. And then here come Nibiru. Oh, you got a bunker? Yeah. No, now you care. You see that big old red planet coming. So I'm just saying, though, listen, in 1983, that Iris infrared satellite detects mystery heavenly body in the direction of Orion. Go look it up. Aqua Girl said, I cook and clean. Well, I mean, okay, all right. That's all right. I'm getting qualifications right now. All right, from the bunker, you know what I'm saying? You got to remember, we're going to be in a bunker. Can you play spade, some dominoes? You know what I'm saying? I mean, can you slam the dominoes and stuff? That's, because dominoes, you can play that for years. You can play spade for years. Okay, it don't get old. You know what I'm saying? So, that ain't a boring game, So that is some just waiting to pick them up from the mothership. I heard that. All right, so... And Zachariah Sitchin's translation matched the orbital pattern of Nibiru with the planetary gravitational irregularities that we can't explain. He talks about all of that. So definitely look into that. Diva said, I love playing spades. I know, man. I'm telling you, when we have our outing, in fact, Thursday, I'll announce the date. I got the place and everything. And so we'll go ahead and announce it Thursday and all of next week. We might have we'll play some spades here in Dallas when we all meet at the park and all that stuff. So I'm ready. But anyway, pre-Sumerian maps show 12 planetary bodies, and we only knew 9 at the time. So once again, they got 10. Okay. Damon said he got the blunts, but I don't smoke. I don't smoke or drink. You know what I'm saying? And so we're going to be in a bunker. So you're talking about air purity and all that stuff will probably be a problem. So I wouldn't want to be down there coughing and stuff, and pretty much. So sorry, man. No, whatever. I don't know. It may be good for people by the end, though. I mean, it still is. Therefore, anyway, the realization before the collapse is one of the things we're going to say. If the ancients were right, then Nibiru is inbound again. So this is what we're talking about. It's on its way. The elite silent is not ignorance. It's more of them in preparation and everything else. Now, what I'm about to say, this part is crucial. So pay attention to what I'm about to say here. Governments aren't warning you, but they are drilling under Colorado, under Norway, under the Vatican. And this is not just astronomy. This is, and it's what they call, how you pronounce it, astrology or whatever. And they're doing this really fast. You know what I'm saying? These people are doing it. Somebody said you can always make tea with it. Okay, all right, we're cool. But you know what? We can always keep the seeds, though. Because if we keep the seeds that Damon had, that might get you in there. So if you take the seeds out and we keep the seeds, then we're gonna have a cash crop when we can come up back on top. because everybody's gonna be messed up in the head, man. And we can be the one. We can corner the market. You know what I'm saying? We can corner the market, D. I'm telling you, we can corner the market. All right, so we could do this. And Gypsy just put in 1, so they probably about. So Gypsy, when you do hear this message, you're about 10 minutes behind us. You want to refresh and come back in because you're putting a 1, so you're way behind in the live stream. So refresh your screen and you'll be up, catch up, and you'll get this 10 minutes later. See how time traveling right now? I'm gonna give them a message now to the past, and when you do refresh, just say I'm here on time, and then we'll know. All right. So listen, they're talking about preparation when it comes down to this. When they're saying this, and you got to understand that what they're hiding is that they're hiding the origin of their power. The Anunnaki didn't just disappear; they ascended into control, and Nibiru's return threatened their rule. So this is the problem. We think at this point that the ones that stayed here that are controlling us is the ones who are really upset about it. Because when Nibiru comes back, it's like, what are y'all doing? Who told y'all to intervene with these humans? Remember, Earth is off limits. You know, this is a project planet. Everybody's protecting this place. This is like a preservation out there in the wilderness. You know, everybody got part animals and species here, and then you don't come in here and manipulate the echo species, the apex species, and now you're controlling and all this. We got to do something about it. So maybe they know that the police is coming. The real police is on its way back, and going to have a problem with the development of this planet in the way that they have done it. It's a possibility. It's a very a possibility. Someone says you need bowls and glasses because the paper is going to run out. Well, man, there you go. I like where y'all thinking. I like where y'all going with this and everything else. And so, again, that's it. And we can get into that. All right. So we're going to move into the final segment of what we're talking about tonight. And remember, this is 4 parts. We're going to be back tomorrow. I'm on Forbidden Knowledge at 8 o'clock. So I'll be having a different topic, but then we will conclude this part 2 of this, because tomorrow we'll get into, a little bit about we'll get into the Anunnaki a little bit, the background of Nibiru. Have scientists admitted that it exists when Nibiru gets here? The likelihood of a pole shift. We'll talk a little bit about that. Biblical events in relations to Nibiru. We'll be talking about that throughout the week. Will Nibiru get here from the scientists? Or then we'll talk about Nibiru and the psychics. We'll talk about the orbits of the planets. We're going to go into Nibiru all week. What the astronomers see now, how the astronomers been silenced, the astronomers Harrigan. There is a story that we need to talk about that. Interview with David Rand and Nibiru. We'll mention a couple of points of that. What Earth changes what Nibiru causes. What does it really cause? And surviving a pole shift and your personal disaster preparations. We will talk about all of that as well. All right, so we will get into all of that as we go. Like I say, 4 nights, but tomorrow we won't be at 8. We'll be right after the Forbidden Knowledge show. Could be about 8:30, 8:45 here. And then I'll let them know to come over here. And then Wednesday at 8, Thursday at 8. And then, of course, we have our after show in our private area at 9 Thursday night. Okay, so we'll continue that thing. All right, so let's kind of get to a little bit where we are. And like I said, right now, let me check. Okay, so at this point, all right, that's cool. I was hoping that some of you will say, okay, we're going to go ahead and we just started now. Oh, okay. No, that's a post there. All right, so anyway, once again, we have a few left, and who's going to be the person that's going to get one? And so I can shout you out tonight and pretty much from there. So let you be the one, and we're going to do that. I'm going to give you a personal shout out. So anyway, y'all see it, man. Wear it proud. I wear it, and it means a lot when it comes down to this. In fact, before we get into the third segment there, we can do that. But just understand it's more than a symbol. It's a bond. It marks the one who sees in the dark and who hears what others ignore and follows the truth, even when it's hidden. You don't just wear it for fashion. You wear it because you remember who you are. You're initiated, watched by none, and you are watching all. This is the whole point. I'll be like, look, we're the watchers now. We are watching y'all. Your eyes are useless when your mind is blind, period. All right, so let's hop into the third and final segment of what we're going to be talking about tonight, going into our 4-part series of what we're doing. We're going to talk about a little bit of when the sky opens, Nibiru's return, and we'll go into a little touch on global programming and the war on your mind. You know, I tell you that all the time. So as we begin this, everything we uncover so far has been leading to where we are now, that because Nibiru doesn't just shake the earth, it shakes the illusion when it comes down to. So I want you to think about what I'm saying here. And when the veil tears, so do the chains that have kept you distracted, addicted, and sleep. They have a problem with that. And this isn't just about a rogue planet. It's about the final melt lockdown before the skies betray the lie. And basically, Nibiru is going to open up their truth. This is probably why we're moving from the Piscean age into the Aquarian age, where the truth is going to be. And more people are seeing it now, that their rule is going to be, there's going to be a problem. There's going to be a lot of stuff when it comes down to that. And so those are the things that we're hearing about when it comes down to this. But here's the deal. We were told that you have free will. We talk about this all the time, that you're watching entertainment, you're reading the news, you're making the choices. But what if that has all been manufactured? This is where the whole thing of truth versus authority came into play, because there was a problem. You know, there was a problem with the truth. You know, the problem with authority. And when I first began my journey of truth versus authority, I was thinking, okay, authority is, you know, people that's in charge and, you know, all of this stuff. Then I realized authority was the mind. It's our mind. Our mind, we think what we think is ruling. But if they can control the mind, they have the authority. And truth is truth. And we have to be able to disseminate information to a point to know what is true and what's not true. And we can't have cognitive dissonance when it comes down to the point that we don't understand, once we present it with truth of things that we know that's not true, that we can convert and go, okay, or something that's not true that we now find out is true. And we can make that conversion. And some people just can't do that. And that's where they control is. But what if all that's been, once again, a manufacturer when we talk to this? Because every ancient prophecy, every esoteric symbol has been reframed as fiction, sci-fi, or religious, fanaticism. You know, people are like, oh, that's just the religious stuff. And so it's like they've been trying to sell 2 or 3 different stories out there, right? And they've been trying to, make us like, oh, don't even believe this, like that movie Shane. Don't believe in Bernard. Don't believe in Bernard. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's whatever. They've been a good job of doing that when it comes down to this. And I think there's something that helps there. Now, for the main part is this: if it's fiction, then there's nothing for nobody to worry about. Okay, so who cares? But if it's true, then we've been gaslit by design. They've been making sure that we don't see the truth. And if and I'm not going to ignore it. If you're going to ignore it, if anybody's ignored it, then we participate in our own programming and, cheering why they blind us, and they're just like, oh, they don't see nothing. You hear the stories, the initiated, you hear everything else. Again, that's why I keep reiterating the power within the luminous symbol, the sigil, the symbol itself, and we just don't make these things up. When you develop the mindset that you can see the unseen, because once you see it, you don't unsee things anyway. I'm just telling you, once you see it, you don't unsee it when it comes down to that. So let me share a little bit right now, and we could do that a little bit. So I'm going to play a clip from a friend of mine, and she explains it really well when it comes down to this. And y'all know who I'm talking about here when you see it.
Y'all miss me? Because I'm back. I definitely been seeing all them videos y'all been tagging me in of that red sun. But most importantly, I've been feeling it too. Have y'all? I know that red sun ain't just no sunset, right? That's a soul signal. If you tapped in even a little bit, you feeling it too. Nibiru's energy creeping through that veil, baby. Pretty sure if we was to look it up, it would say some shit like it's from the fire, smoke, or the atmospheric particles. Nah. This is cosmic movement. This is the crossing, because planet Nibiru is known as the planet of the crossing. But what do you know? The cross, once again, they call it that because it don't just cross through the sky, it crosses through dimensions. It shakes illusions, it scrambles old programs and some people's brains. I'm telling y'all, just pay attention to who crashing out right now. Activates the part of your DNA or RNA that modern science might not even acknowledge. So you've been tired lately? Your dreams been feeling too real? You having random pressure in your heart or your head? I'm talking about out of nowhere. That's because that's light code work being done. What that means is your melanin or neuromelanin for people who look like me. Yes, there is a difference. Your bloodline and crystalline structure are all receiving. This is another reason why you have a lot of people transitioning off of this realm right now, because they're not matching the frequency of where the earth is rising to, and it's just going to continue. That red sun is not just shining, it's remembering, and it's seeing all. This is not just about astrology or astronomy. This is literally ancestral prophecy. I do recall the Dogons, the Sumerians, and even the ancient Kemetic texts talking about this millennia ago. Celestial bodies that return to wake up the encoded one, or what most like to call the chosen one. A lot of us starting to tune in and tap into a lot of shit they did not want us to remember. I'm just going to keep reminding y'all, remember who you are. Let me know y'all thoughts in them comments. Shout out to everybody that attended my event this past weekend. Now, I know Friday we had a little technical difficulties with the music and things. The conversations alone at the end was amazing. Quickly got our shit together for Saturday though, because it was a vibe. Shout out to all of y'all who said y'all meeting me in Houston June 21st and 22nd for that Quantum Fest. I know we gonna have a time out there too. Be on the lookout because I will be having a puff and paint in July. I know I ain't been doing no videos in a minute, so I'm definitely about to catch up. Stay tuned. As always, peace, love, and light, and gratitude for watching.
All right, there we go. All right, so and if you haven't really, go check her out on Instagram. She's doing a YouTube channel in the future, Y'all World. So check her out because she talks some deep stuff and pretty much from there. And it's just really good when it comes down to it. All right. So as we continue to where I'm going with this is that we can look at that. Here's the game changer. So let's kind of go with that a little bit. The symbol of Nibiru appears in corporate logos. You're talking about film plot lines, elite rituals. It's not random. See, the mind control transfers a pipeline that has been done. And I talk about this all the time. You talk about the occult elite, they know the cycles. Vatican, all these people, they already know. They got the information. They got access to it. They give it to the celebrity archetypes of culture. And so these people try to pretend that they know some things. It flows into the movies, the music, the merchandising. All of this stuff is not planned, by the way. I mean, it's planned, by the way. It's not happenstance when they do it. And it enters you unexamined, unchallenged through frequencies, through all of these different things. So they go past our permission. They don't need our permission to do this. And that's something that we have to do it. But the next part is crucial that I'm getting ready to say to you. And so, and it's a little nugget. So I want you to pay attention because every time you see the incoming red object, an ancient cosmic threat, or God returning in fire, you're being acclimated. So this is things that are happening and not warned, but you're preparing for submission is what they're trying to do. So all these things is something that, once again, we have to look into what we're doing and everything else. So all I'm saying is, as we come to our hour of the show, and, you know, my goal is if I can do an hour, I can do 4 or 5 days a week. You know, if I go longer, then it takes a little part of it. But so, yeah, Roderick narrating with his hand like, but anyway. All right. So once again, is this, if it's true, then you were never meant to be informed. They don't want us to know this. So glad that you're here, that you're seeing some, because you were meant to be informed. It just makes sense. And you were meant to, you were not meant to mock this until it's too late. You know, because a lot of people be like, you're here, oh, maybe it's this, and maybe Nibiru is that. Maybe they're just lying. Maybe it's because of this. Maybe it's because of that. People, the history books has always been the way to the future. And credit bureaus learn that, right? They look at your past to determine what you're going to do in the future. They won't give you something now because of what they looked into the past. Our past is always a window into partial of the future. Doesn't mean it can't be altered in the now, so to speak. You know, your past doesn't determine your future. They can just know, you know, if you continue on the same path, what could happen, right? So think about it now. We can learn more. You can prepare yourself more information, mental and ascension, and all of these things that we need to do when it comes down to this, because there are ritual, real life consequences that comes down to this. And let me delicately approach this a little bit. When the media shows Nibiru symbols in the films or ancient alien things in blockbusters, it's not a warning. It's their energetic conditioning is what they're trying to do. So when you consume it passively, you consent. We don't have to look, we don't have to believe and see it the way they see it. We can go back to ancient texts, research to understand the true meaning and what is going to happen. And the real ritual is participation. And so just think about that already, because consent is their doorway. Remember, they try to get us to consent. And I'm jumping off the reservation here, but when you talk about music, all of this stuff, the rituals that they put into it, that's how they get people to consent to some of the things that we don't want to consent to, because you're clapping, you're swaying to different stuff that you're not supposed to, then that's you're consenting to it pretty much. But listen, we're at the top of the hour, and I want you to understand, wake up before the sky opens, right? Start decoding every symbol that they show you. Look deeper into it. Symbolism is really important. In fact, as you already know, I have a trademark, the symbolizer, right? Denzel Washington is the equalizer. He's the vigilante of justice. I'm the vigilante of truth. All right. And that's how seriously I took it. Filed for a trademark because I want to learn it, and I am learning. I want to pass it on in a more collective way, an educational or infotainment way to you, so that you get it. And, you know, we're not just having a school. A circle is a circle, a square is a square, and a triangle is a triangle, which they all are symbols, and they're very important. But the other part is, how do we see it? So I want you to, all this week, we're just going to have open dialogue. I want you, though, you go do your historic searches, though, because I need to lead you to do that. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm going to give you enough information that you can hear, maybe can see, read, understand, to awaken your curiosity to the possibility that that red planet, that Nibiru, all of that is here returning or whatever, so that you personally can consume and get and go after information, and then it will soothe the savage beast within you, so that you then understand it. Because a lot of people, it's not a pulpit. We're not going to stand here and tell you to turn to page 22 in the Sumerian tablet, and then I'm going to read it to you like some pastor or something. No, read it and get your own interpretations. Go look for it, because the water's there. You just got to drink it. A lot of people walk around with the thirst, and they're thirsty. They walk around with devices in their hand that can quench their thirst for knowledge. They walk around wondering every day, I'm going to watch. I'm going to watch this and this. If people give you the hint to it, then you drink the water. It only works. So the prime example before we get out of here. So imagine that this water bottle is knowledge. This is my metaphor for you tonight. It's knowledge. Imagine how many thirsty people walking around every single day with knowledge, with the water in their hand. They're walking around, they're complaining. I don't want to hear this. I don't believe that. You don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. And they're thirsty, and they're dying of thirst, right? They're walking around with it. They got it in their hand, and they can go look at this. People like myself, oh, yeah, they might expect for somebody else to hand them the water, but they got it. They got the water in their hand. And people, it only works if you drink it. That's my ending of the story for you tonight. And hopefully at this point, again, one of you, or two, three, hopefully four, find your way to support Luminous tonight. I'm proud of this, though. I'm really proud of this. I'm not going to lie to y'all. But anyway, it's been a plum pleasing pleasure as well as a privilege here with you tonight. And we'll be back tomorrow. Like I said, I'll be on Forbidden Knowledge with a different topic at 8. Then I'll come back here at 8:30, 9:45, 8:45 here. And we'll bring some of that crowd over here to go into part 2 tonight of what we're talking about. And then we'll go deeper Wednesday, and then we'll go deeper Thursday. So all week we're going to be here. So 8 o'clock and can't wait to serve you in pretty much doing that. And once again, I love you. And to my haters, once again, if you can hate on me and you don't know me, I can still love you without ever meeting you. And I don't want to meet you, but I do love you. Okay. And I do love each and every one of you. And good night, each and every one of y'all tonight.
Welcome, Truth Seeker. You are no longer asleep. I am Luminous, the Owl of Truth. The world is blind, but you have opened your eyes. Welcome to the fire of esoteric knowledge and truth. You are now one of the awakened. You are now luminous. Welcome to the rebellion. Welcome to truth versus authority.